Good morning and welcome to the January 7th, 2022 Sandag Transportation Committee. Before we get started, I want to share that we'll be hosting simultaneous interpretation of this meeting into Spanish and wanted to introduce our translator with the Spanish language instructions. Carlos, good morning.
Good morning, Vice Chair Campillo, and thank you. I will begin with the Spanish instructions and I will be back with the English. Muy buenos días y bienvenidas a esta sesión del Comité de Transporte. Se está ofreciendo interpretación simultánea. Para hacer uso del servicio, por favor desplácese a la barra de controles de Zoom en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, parece un globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish o español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, en celular, tableta, etc., presione primero los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Por último, si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio o silenciar audio original. Once again, good morning. Interpretation is being provided to and from Spanish. In the event that there are any questions or comments in Spanish, we invite English speakers to take advantage of the feature. To do so, please scroll down to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon. It looks like a little world, and then select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app on a cell phone, tablet, or other mobile device, first press the ellipsis, the three dots, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on Mute Original Audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Gracias, and thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Everyone, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, before we check for quorum, I would like to take just a short moment to have a moment of silence. Our chair, Supervisor Nora Vargas, could not join us this morning. Sadly, her father, Eduardo Federico Vargas Ojeda, passed away yesterday. So let us take a moment of silence for Señor Vargas Ojeda. Thank you very much. The thoughts and prayers of this committee and everyone at Sandag are with the Vargas family today. Next, I will ask our clerk, Ms. Francesca Webb, to confirm we have quorum. Clerk.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to remind members of the public of our process for both members and public comment. The primary members will be using their cameras and will take live public comments. Members are asked to turn on their camera when they have a comment or question, and they will be recognized. I will now ask our legal counsel, Ms. Amberlyn Deaton, to provide a quick reminder on how public comments will work, please. Ms. Deaton.
Thank you, Vice Chair. As noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, the public may provide live comments during today's meeting. When public comments are called for on an item, please click on the raise hand icon on the top right of your screen. The clerk will then call on you by the name you've provided. If you're participating by phone, please press *9, which will raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak. The clerk will call on you by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. The instructions for providing live comments are also on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed from the homepage of Sandag's website at www.sandag.org. All comments, whether they were emailed in advance or live, will be made a part of today's meeting record. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Deaton. We now have item number 1, which is public comment and communications and member comments. Public comments under this agenda item will be limited to 5 public speakers, and members of the public shall have the opportunity to address the Transportation Committee on any issue within the jurisdiction of Sandag that is not on the agenda today. The public speakers are limited to 3 minutes or less per person, and committee members may also provide information and announcements under this agenda item. If the number of public comments exceeds 5, additional public comment will be taken at the end of the agenda, and subjects of previous agenda items may not again be addressed under public comment. So I'll ask members of the public at this time who wish to offer public comment not related to a matter on our agenda today to raise your hand at this time so we can call on you. Ms. Webb, do we see any hands from the public?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I don't see any hands from the public.
Okay, I'll wait about 5 more seconds just in case folks are pressing *6 or anything like that. Okay, I do not see any other hands up. We'll now call on committee members. Councilmember Sankey, I believe you'd like to be recognized.
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Chair. I've spoken about the suicide barrier on the bridge before, and I want to commend Avo and his team at District 11 who've moved the project forward as far as it can get in terms of the environmental clearances, which we expect to have completed by June. The folks at Caltrans were nice enough to take me and several other representatives of governing jurisdictions here in San Diego on tours of the interior of the bridge. It's a really interesting elevator ride and then a long walk out to the center and a catwalk. And the reason for the tour was to show us some complications related to inspection and engineering that have come up as they've engineered the bridge suicide barrier. It's taken the project from an approximate 50 million price tag to about 100 million now. And the challenges are difficult. The inspections are mandated by federal and state authorities, and also the regular maintenance of the bridge is quite a task, and the barrier will create some complications for that ongoing project. What I'm hoping to have germinate with everybody on this committee, so many of you are significantly more influential in this area than myself, so we need your help. Coronado has been sort of a lone voice in this, and we've tried to get the Navy involved, and with little success, even though that's a critical transportation link for the Navy. Folks on the San Diego side have shown some interest, and we need them to be louder. And so what the goal will be to have some funding lined up to create the construction and the design dollars. I've spoken several times over the last several years with different groups over at Sandag and tried to move the $25 million that was dedicated through the 2008 vote for Transnet over to a project that benefits our corridor as opposed to the tunnel, which was what the original intent of that money was. And I can't think of anything that would be a better move for that money would be to have it be seed money for the construction and design of the suicide barrier. We're going to continue to advocate for that as well as other funding sources, and look forward to working with all of the partner jurisdictions to make sure we can make this happen, as we've all worked so hard on mental health awareness and issues related to that and so many other parts of our work. This is definitely something that will make a difference for our region. It's needed and it's now. And again, salute to Caltrans, how far they've worked. The personal commitment of the engineers and the designers that I spent time with on the bridge is sincere, and their professional experience will help get this done. It's up to us to find some funding sources, and I appreciate anybody's efforts that can help us in that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Sankey. Absolutely, I appreciate you bringing that up. You brought this up last year, I believe in January, at the very first meeting I ever attended of this committee, and look forward to a phone call from me. Happy to be one of those louder voices to help you in assisting in that.
Thank you.
I see Mr. Dayada has his hand up. Mr. Dayada, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Campillo, and thank you, Councilmember Sankey, for being such a strong advocate for the Coronado Bridge Suicide Prevention Barrier Project. You're right, we are on the final stages, the final steps of seeking the environmental clearance. Look out for a public hearing coming up within the next month or so. And yes, we're wrapping up the environmental document by the middle of this year, and we will be seeking funding to take it to the next phase and ultimately have it constructed. It's not a traditional transportation project, so we're gonna have to get creative and look for sources of funding wherever we can find them. So I wanna thank you for bringing that up again. I did wanna mention a couple of other things for all of you to be aware of. The first one is the last workshop regarding the local beautification grant program for Clean California is happening next week on January 12th from 1:30 to 3. You can go to the Clean California website and find out more about it, but this is the last workshop before applications are due on February 1st. There is $300 million up for grabs approximately statewide. It's going to be competitive, so hopefully we have a lot of applications from the San Diego region to try to bring some of those dollars and turn some spaces, that public spaces that may be not in good condition now into places that we can take pride on. The second thing that I wanted to mention is the last week of 2021, Caltrans and the California Office of Traffic Safety announced a partnership. It's a 3-year partnership for a public safety campaign called Go Safely California. It's aimed at reduced drunk and high driving. So you will start seeing messaging on billboards, on digital media, on TV, to encourage people not to let others drunk, high, or drunk, or drive high or drunk. So hopefully as you see those messages, you leverage also your personal ways of communicating with the public to amplify the campaign, because a lot of the deaths on our freeways and on our public roads are related to drunk driving or high driving, and we need to push the needle in the opposite direction and bring those numbers down to zero. And the last thing I wanted to mention is CalSTA Secretary David Kim has announced that he will be leaving CalSTA effective January 14th, 2022. Secretary Kim has been at the head of CalSTA for the last 3 years, has done an amazing job, brought things like the Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, strong push for transit and rail, road safety, equity. And he was a fearless advocate of local projects like the Delmar Bluffs, as well as the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. And we also took him on a tour of the Coronado Bridge, and he actually last year wrote a letter of recommendation to try to seek congressional funding for that project. So I wanted you all to be aware of that. There's a few days where you can reach out to him and let him know how much we're going to miss him and what great job he did for our region as well as for the state. So thank you, everyone, and happy 2022.
Thank you, Mr. Learda. Are there any other comments from members of the committee? Seeing no cameras or hands, we will now move to item number 2, the Executive Officer's Report. I believe that Mr. Ekrada is unable to join us this morning, and so Mr. Traum will be presenting.
Great, thank you, Vice Chair Campillo, and good morning and Happy New Year, everyone. We wanted to start by wishing you and your loved ones a happy and healthy start to 2020. Also want to thank you for all of your partnership and collaboration during a pivotal time for our region last year. It was certainly an exciting one, and we really appreciate it. Our biggest achievements are highlighted in the 2021 annual report, which was sent to the Board of Directors and posted online last week. So we encourage you to check that out. We are also so proud to have delivered both the Mid-Coast Corridor project and the regional plan last year. 2022 ahead will be another exciting year for our region, and we're hitting the ground running to deliver a host of projects. Among those are Otay Mesa East Port of Entry, relocating the Losan Rail Corridor off the Bluffs, the Central Mobility Hub, Blue Line Express, the Purple Line, Regional Vision Zero, Housing, Digital Equity, and the San Ysidro Mobility Hub, just to name a few. We're also celebrating another milestone for Caltrans and Sandag on our North Coast Corridor project. So this last December, beach nourishment efforts began at Cardiff State Beach. And this week, Sandag and Caltrans and the San Dieguito River Park Joint Powers Authority began working on phase 2 of the San Dieguito Lagoon Wetlands Restoration Project. This is also a big month for our bike projects. The Georgia Meade Bikeway will open to the public. The much anticipated construction of Pershing Bikeway will begin, and the 4th and 5th Avenue bikeways are anticipated to be fully open very soon. And finally, our deepest condolences go out to Supervisor Vargas and our family on the passing of our father. We were very sorry to hear about that this morning. So back to you, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Traum. Do we have any public comments for the Executive Officer's Report? Seeing no hands from the attendees, do we have any comments or questions from our committee members? Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Traum. We will now move on to our consent agenda. If a member would like to pull an item on the consent agenda, or if you have questions or comments on an item, please verbalize them now. Hearing none, clerk, do we have any public comments on the? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm happy to make a motion. Supervisor Anderson's happy to make the motion.
And
Very
Sankey
good.
is happy to second.
Very good. We have a motion from the supervisor and a second from the council member. Clerk, are there any public comments on the consent agenda?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I don't see any hands from the public.
Very good. If there's no comments or questions from committee members, we shall now go to the vote. Clerk?
Thank you very much. And before I start the vote, I did want to note that yesterday we noticed a typo in the minutes related to certain members' jurisdictions. So I just wanted to mention that we've since reposted the agenda with those corrections. There was no substantive changes, but just wanted to note that before we vote.
Thank you.
For the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, Paul Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you. For the City of San Diego, Vice Chair Campillo.
Yes.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Thank you. For East County, Councilmember Mendoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Metropolitan Transit System is absent. For North County Coastal, Councilmember Zito.
Zito, yes.
Thank you. For North County Inland, Mayor Ritter.
Ritter, yes.
Thank you. For North County Transit District, Councilmember Edson.
Edson, yes.
Thank you. For the Port of San Diego, Commissioner Naranjo.
Commissioner Naranjo, yes.
Thank you. And for South County, Councilmember Sankey.
Yankee, yes.
Thank you very much. And that does pass unanimously. Oh, with those members present.
Thank you very much, Clerk. And thank you everyone for your votes. Moving on to our reports. Item number 5 is the 2021 Regional Transportation Improvement Program, Amendment number 6, and Air Quality Conformity Redetermination. We will now be turning it over to Mr. Richard Radcliffe for the presentation. Good morning, Mr. Radcliffe.
Thank you, and good morning, Vice Chair Campillo, and good morning, members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Richard Radcliffe, and I am a financial analyst with the SANDAG Financial Planning and Budgeting Department. I'm here today with Amendment 6 to the 2021 Regional Transportation Improvement Program. The 2021 Regional Transportation Improvement Program was approved by the Board of Directors on February 26, 2021. The Regional Transportation Improvement Program is a 5-year program of proposed major transportation projects in the San Diego region, which implements projects in the first 5 years of the SANDAG Regional Plan. The 2021 Regional Transportation Improvement Program was found consistent with the 2019 federal RTP, which was the approved plan at the time. With the adoption of San Diego Forward, the 2021 regional plan by the SANDAG Board of Directors on December 10, 2021, regulations require that the Regional Transportation Improvement Program be amended and its air quality conformity must be redetermined within 6 months of the adoption of a new regional plan. Amendment 6 is being processed to establish consistency between the 2021 Regional Transportation Improvement Program and the 2021 Regional Plan. Each capacity increasing project contained in the Regional Transportation Improvement Program includes a reference to the regional plan to establish this consistency. Amendment 6 primarily updates these references using the unique project identifiers included in the 2021 Regional Plan. It also includes updates to the open to traffic dates of 8 projects, consistent with the dates modeled for the regional plan. No projects were added or deleted from the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, and Amendment 6 includes no changes to funding. Amendment 6, including its air quality conformity redetermination, can be reviewed in its entirety at the link provided with today's agenda. Attachment 2, beginning on page 19 of today's agenda, is the Summary of Changes report showing the changes included in this amendment. Additional information has been provided for those projects with updated open to traffic dates. Attachment 3 shows any changes that were made during the public comment period. The Transportation Committee is asked to adopt Resolution 2022-11, approving Amendment 6 to the Regional Transportation Improvement Program and its air quality conformity redetermination. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Radcliffe. Let's first go to public comment. Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I don't see any hands at the moment.
Very good. Any member comments from the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Zito seconds.
Hearing a motion from Supervisor Anderson and a second from Councilmember Zito on staff's recommendation, we will now proceed to questions or comments. I don't think we have any. And we will now move on to the vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you very much. For the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, Paul Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you. For the City of San Diego, Vice Chair Campillo.
I vote yes.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Thank you. For East County, Councilmember Mendoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Metropolitan Transit System is absent. For North County Coastal, Councilmember Zito.
Zito, yes.
Thank you. For North County Inland, Mayor Ritter.
Ritter, yes.
Thank you. For North County Transit District, Councilmember Edson.
Edson, yes.
Thank you. For the Port of San Diego, Commissioner Naranjo.
Commissioner Naranjo, yes.
Thank you. And for South County, Councilmember Sankey.
Sankey, yes.
Thank you very much. And that does pass with those members present.
Thank you, Clerk. Now moving to item number 6, which is the fiscal year 2022 program budget amendment, Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. We will now be receiving a presentation from Mr. Mario Oso of Caltrans. Mr. Oso, good morning, Happy New Year, and please begin with your presentation. Are we also joined by Maria Rodriguez Molina as well?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Good morning, Vice Chair and Transportation Committee members. My name is Mario Orso. I'm the Corridor Director, and like you mentioned, I'm accompanied by Maria Rodriguez, which is the project manager here at SANDAC for the project. Today, we're coming with some good news, a budget amendment item to bring in some new funds, $24.9 million that the Transportation Commission, the California Transportation Commission, has approved for the project. But before we would like to present to you a brief corridor update on the ongoing work. Also, I want to mention that in the near future, some key members will be coming to the borders, the transportation committees, and the board of directors to provide more details and seek approvals for items like financing, delivery strategies, and agreements with the different stakeholders on both sides of the border for the development and delivery of this project, as well as the operations. So we'll begin giving you the brief presentation of what we've done right now out in the field. So can we go to the next slide? So the corridor, the Otay Mesa East project, is not just the border itself. It's a corridor project that encompasses the transportation facilities, support facilities like way stations, as well as a complex intelligent transportation system that's beyond this corridor, SR11, State Route 11, and 905. It actually connects all the border crossings, Otay Mesa, San Isidro, with a complex border wait time system and fiber optic system. So today we'll be showing you some pictures and seeing how we're doing with all the construction. Let's go to the next slide. We'll be taking you in this virtual tour that we could say through a couple of locations and then talk to you about what we're doing. We're going to go to first locations, the connectors with 125, 905, 11, and then we'll be taking an imaginary ride along SR11 and seeing the different improvements that we've done until we get to the port of entry. Important to say that we have invested in this project and committed up to $565 million up to now. With the additional funds that we're going to be proposing is going to near almost $600 million, the investment that we put in this project, in this corridor. About half of those funds are federal funds, about 40% will be state funds, and about 9% are local funds from here from SANDAC. Why don't we go to the next slide? So starting in the first location with the connectors of State Route 125 to 905 and State Route 11, you could see here, we just opened up last month the connectors from southbound 125 to southbound or eastbound 905, as well to eastbound State Route 11. In this fall, we should be opening the last missing connector, which is the southbound 125 to westbound 905, which is being funded with state funds, Senate Bill 1, Trade Corridor Enhancement Programs. Let's go to the next slide. So like I mentioned, last month, we had a huge ribbon cutting, where we opened those connectors that we mentioned. Why are they important? Because this is connecting East County, East Chula Vista and beyond, the 125, directly to the Otay Mesa border crossing, the existing one, and it's providing the direct connection to East Otay, either East Otay, the border crossing, or all the new jobs that are being developed in that area, like the Amazon complexes there. This project was a partnership where the state put in $50 million to build the project in capital, and SANDAG put the remaining $14 million to pay for the engineering and the inspection costs. So this is how we leverage those partnerships here. This project itself was the detonator to match for another $50 million of federal funds that you'll see where we have invested them. Let's go to the next slide. This is a picture almost a week before we opened these connectors. It's very easy to say connectors, but if you really look at the picture, you're going to see that this is a triple or quadruple decker interchange where you have 3 state routes connecting. That's very rare. I don't know in San Diego County if we have another area where we have 3 state routes, which are freeway connectors joining together. So this gives you the importance and the level of magnitude of the project that we embarked into. Let's go to the next slide. If we keep driving to the east now in our imaginary tour, we have just driven a mile on what it was State Route 11 that we opened in 2016, the first segment, and then we get to the Enrico Fermi interchange. You could see underneath the interchange the State Route 11 that's being constructed. And also you could see in this interchange is where we take the truck traffic from both the existing Otay Mesa and the future Otay Mesa ports of entry will be converging. Now, if we would have done a traditional intersection here, this would have been the freight bottleneck for the border because there's so much truck traffic in this location that the signal cycles would have taken up to 1,400 seconds. So imagine standing on a red signal for 1,400 seconds, you will hate us here at Caltrans. So what we did is we designed what we call a diverging diamond. This diverging diamond, basically, as you could see in the picture, we move traffic to the opposite side. So for a moment, you can imagine that you're in England, and instead of taking a permissive left into the freeway, you have a free left turn. So this is the first of its kind in San Diego County and Imperial in District 11. It increases the efficiency by 50%, and we're very proud about this design. It's working great. You could see how it's functioning. We will gladly give a tour once the high COVID situation has come down, so you could see how it operates. We have already received 2 awards, one from the Transportation Institute locally in San Diego as the project of the year for this unique interchange here. Let's keep going on our imaginary tour, further traveling to the east. Next slide. So now we travel another half a mile or a mile, and we are at an overcrossing that's Coauta. So you could see part of State Route 11 that's being built. It's going to be finished pretty much in the next couple of months. Why am I showing you a picture of this bridge? Because this project, in addition to being complex in its coordination with Mexico and the federal government, it also brings some unique complexities. A year ago, I was here, almost a year exactly ago, and I was telling you how we found some fossils in the area. Well, this bridge also had its complication because this is where a water line between Mexico and the US exists and travels through, where we exchange water with Mexico. The water line was much bigger than the depth of this bridge, so we had to break the water line into 3 different water lines to be able to accommodate for that. For a technical person, it's pretty cool for me as an engineer, but it required quite a bit of coordination, as during the months of this construction, we were selling 400 acre-feet of water to Mexico. So we had to coordinate the construction and the cutting of the lines so we wouldn't affect those exchanges of water that were occurring between Otay Water District and the Mexican authorities. So let's keep going to the next slide. Now we keep traveling another half a mile and we are at the end of State Route 11. One thing that's interesting about this picture is you could see that development is already even occurring before we have finished the highway. We're starting to see development popping out, and you can't really see in this picture, but some of the local road network has already been developed around State Route 11 and Otay Mesa East proposed port of entry. This is the Siempre Viva interchange that we're building together with the State Route 11. This is where we would technically end State Route 11, begin the toll plaza that SANDAC will be operating. You could see the highway is opening up to 15 lanes here. So you could see there's a lot of work happening in this location. Let's go to the next slide. And again, this is a picture of the same location. So suddenly we just traveled 2.5 miles through a brand new highway. We've come to the end, and this picture basically showing you those 15 lanes where the toll plaza is going to be. And it's showing you where we're beginning the port of entry itself. Your Maria Rodriguez will be taking over and telling you a little bit more about what we're doing on the port of entry. But I think this is important to show you the order of magnitude of the construction and preparation that's going for the port of entry. Maria, take it away.
Thank you, Maria. Next slide. Let me start by showing you a simulation on the roadway elements that Mario just updated us on, and show you how everything will look like once Otay Mesa East port of entry opens. So now we're going over SO11. This is Enrico Fermi. You see there are trucks and cars traveling with 3 lanes in each direction. We're going over Alta Road. And now we're getting closer to the port of entry. This is the Siempre Viva interchange. And right after the Siempre Viva interchange, you can see the toll plaza. It expands to 15 lanes. Now we're over the port of entry. On the center, right now it's gonna go towards the bottom of your screen. You're gonna see the commercial vehicle enforcement facility, the state facility that checks the trucks once they come through the border. And the remaining 100 acres will be the CBP, the Customs and Border Protection port of entry facility itself. As you can see, there are brown areas. Those are large areas for expansion for future years when the demand grows. We'll start with a smaller facility and make it flexible with interchangeable lanes so that we meet the peaking demands throughout the day. So we'll be able to process cars or trucks as needed, depending on those peaks on the demand. We can move to the next slide, please. Here is another picture of the site of the port of entry. As you can see, we have started the work on the site. We're working on the utility work and on drainage facilities. And with the funds we're asking you today to recommend for approval, we'll complete the site preparation. Next slide. This is one of the big culverts we have at the site. Next slide. The next important element of the project is the ITS, the Intelligent Transportation System. We made a major advancement on this project by installing the northbound border wait time system that measures wait times at San Isidro and Otay Mesa, the northbound traffic. We're calibrating the system right now, and within the next few months after appropriate testing, we'll be able to share accurate wait times to the traveling traffic. We are already showing online southbound wait times. So we'll incorporate the 2 systems and be able to provide that data for the San Diego travelers. Next slide. We're working really closely with our Mexican partners on various activities, ITS coordination, the design of the port of entry and the roadway, and also the financial strategy. Mexico has made major advancements. They'll finalize the design on the roadway in January of this year. They'll finalize the port of entry design by March, and they're currently under right-of-way negotiations on the parcels for the project. Next slide. As Mario mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, today is the beginning of a conversation to deliver the SO11 Otay Mesa East project. We'll come back for major decisions in the upcoming months regarding the financing of the strategy, the delivery method, and other agreements. We're working on that financial strategy with Mexico. We're working on the site preparation, as we just showed you. And we're working on gathering those understandings with the Mexican government and with the federal agencies here in the US. Next slide. Today, we're here to ask the Transportation Committee to recommend that the Board of Directors approve an amendment to the fiscal year 2022 program budget, accepting $24.9 million of Surface Transportation Block Grant Program Coordinated Border Infrastructure Funds to construct the SO11 and Otay Mesa East Port of Entry Capital Improvement Program number 12-011-01. This concludes the presentation. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the great work on this critically important piece of infrastructure to support both the South Bay area and also our entire region. Clark, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this?
Thank you, Vice Chair. I don't see any hands from the public.
Very good. Are there any members of the committee who'd like to make a comment? I see Councilmember Edson is turned on her camera.
Yes, thank you. I had the good fortune of doing a borders tour back in early 2017 after I was first elected and first began serving on Sandag. And I have to say, I'm so impressed with each update and new phase that this project goes through. And I would be happy to move forward the recommendation to take this to the board for approval.
Very good. Thank you, Council Member. We have the motion from Councilmember Edson. I see Councilmember Sankey has his camera on. And you're muted, sir.
Rookie move. Thank you. I will join Jewel in her comments. It's exciting to see what's happening on the border. I'm a frequent crosser myself. I look forward to taking advantage of this new facility. And I think the big benefits here for the commercial side of the crossing are just going to be phenomenal. I would hope that the next time, Mario, you and your team come present to us, we could have a visitor from the Mexican side of the border. As we've talked before, I've had a continuing concern over progress south of the border when we're north of $500 million on our side. And I really look forward. I absolutely agree that the comments that were made today about progress on the Mexican side is significant, and I believe you. I personally would love to see some more actual faces and commitments at the committee level here, and perhaps even at the board level on this project for the Mexico side, because there just hasn't been very much physical changes in that area when we've got so many things done on this side. So again, kudos for you and your team. Again, I second the motion, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from the other side of the border on this project, because I know they want to see it happen as well.
We will work on extending an invitation to our Mexican partners to come and do a presentation.
Thanks, Mario, very much.
Thank you very much. So we have the motion and the second. I just have one brief question, because I often see this come up in many items we approve. Mr. Orso, why do we have to vote to accept $24.9 million? Why don't we just accept $24.9 million?
Well, it's a budget amendment to show that we're bringing in new colors. So technically in the funding phase, we were showing unfunded this portion. So now we're changing it and showing a color of money that has now been identified. So it's basically you approving that change of the budget amendment, where we're changing the colors of money from in the line from unfunded to funded.
Very good. Okay, the number of times I've seen in an agenda that we are voting to accept money, I was like, wow, why? How come the treasurer of Sandag or or Mr. Ekrada doesn't just accept it? But very good, absolutely legally required to adjust the budget. Hearing a motion and a second, we will now move to a vote if there are no further comments or questions. Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Vice Chair. For the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, Paul Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you. For the City of San Diego, Vice Chair Campillo.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Thank you. For East County, Councilmember Mendoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Metropolitan Transit System is absent. For North County Coastal, Councilmember Zito.
Zito, yes.
Thank you. For North County Inland, Mayor Ritter.
Ritter, yes.
Thank you. For North County Transit District, Councilmember Edson.
Edson, yes.
Thank you. For the Port of San Diego, Commissioner Naranjo.
Commissioner Naranjo, yes.
Thank you. And for South County, Councilmember Sankey.
Sankey, yes, and Raul, great observation.
Thank you very much. And that does pass with those members present.
Thank you, clerk. Moving to item number 7 is the 2022 Performance Management Rule 1 Safety Target Setting. We will now have a presentation from Mr. Sam Sanford of Sandag regarding the Rule 1 Safety Target Setting. Please proceed. Good morning.
Good morning, Vice Chair and committee members. My name is Sam Sanford, and I'm joined here today by my colleague Tim Garrett. We're from the Long Range Planning Division, and we'll be co-presenting on this item. The report for this item starts on page 32 of today's agenda, and the presentation, if you wanted to see that in your other copy, is on page 11 of the support materials. This is an annual item. It began coming to the Transportation Committee a few years ago. This is the 5th iteration of the annual target setting. And this item is for calendar year 2022 safety targets. In this presentation, we'll cover the process, the measures that are included in this process, Caltrans targets that have already been adopted, and then we'll also look at San Diego region data and statewide data on safety for these performance measures. We'll follow that with a discussion on next steps, and this is an action item requesting a recommendation to the board. Before diving into the process and the numbers, I do want to briefly preface this presentation with a note really on the critical importance of safety planning, programming, with the ultimate goal of driving down the number and severity of crashes, and acknowledge that the facts and figures we're presenting today, the statistics do represent real people, real lives lost, real lives irreparably changed. So while this item is focused on a federal requirement of setting safety targets on an annual basis, I do want to emphasize that there is ongoing parallel work and future work anticipated to further safety efforts, and I can speak to those towards the end of the presentation as well with the next steps. So we get the next slide, please. So on the process itself for target setting, per Federal Highway Administration, state DOTs are required to set statewide targets. Caltrans established those back in August 31st of 2021. These targets that Caltrans has set for calendar year 2022 are trend-based. Essentially what they did is they looked at the most recently available data, the trend over time for those data, and established the target based on that process. And I'll speak to this more and get to some of the charts. From there, MPOs, or Metropolitan Planning Organizations, like Sandag, are then required to set targets by February 28th of the following year, so by the end of next month. And MPOs have the option of either supporting the statewide targets or by setting up MPO-specific targets for the planning area of that Metropolitan Planning Organization. As I mentioned, this is a federal requirement. It stemmed from MAP 21 and continues on with our current transportation bills. And it does cover 5 safety performance measures, and the actual methodology, the data that informs those measures, those are all listed within the final rule covering this. There's not a lot of options or flexibility in this. It pretty much tells us how to do the calculations and set this up. The part where we do have flexibility is in target setting. For the past 4 annual target setting processes, the Sandag Board of Directors has approved supporting the Caltrans targets. Now the term target in kind of normal everyday speak would be something that we aspire to, something that we want to achieve. But in this context, following the federal rule, a target is really the anticipated future condition, which may not always be what we actually want. It's just what the data is pointing us towards. And so we'll see that in some of these later slides. Next slide, please. So the 5 measures, as I mentioned before, there are 5 in total, are the number of fatalities, and this is for all public roads, regardless of ownership or maintenance responsibility, for all 5 of these measures. The second performance measure is the rate of fatalities, and this is normalized by the amount of traveling that occurs on those roadways, so by vehicle miles traveled. So it's a way of controlling for exposure, how much usage is occurring on those roadways. Third measure is the number of serious injuries, and the fourth is, again, the rate of serious injuries by 100 million vehicle miles traveled. And then the last measure, number 5, is a combined measure that looks at the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So this would include cyclists, pedestrians, other people, or other uses of personal conveyance on our roadways. Next, thank you. So the targets themselves. So listed on this slide on the far left, we have the 5 performance measures going down the slide. In the center column, we have the numeric values for the 5-year rolling average, which is what is required for setting the targets. So those are the statewide targets set by Caltrans. And then off to the right, we have the percent change from prior year. So you can see with the number of fatalities, the target is a reduction over the prior years, along with the rate of fatalities. However, with serious injuries, you'll see it's 1.6. It's a positive number. That's an indication that the data itself that was available at the time of target setting was indicating an increase, the expected increase in the number and rate of serious injuries. And then the last row on this table shows the combined metric for that last measure, which is pulling together both the anticipated reduction in fatalities and the anticipated increase in serious injuries on our roadways. So in the following slides, we'll review kind of the statewide and the San Diego region statistics for each of these measures. However, we're going to take them a little out of turn and start with one of the rate measures. It's a little bit more intuitive to look at a rate measure since they're more comparable between the two, state and region. And then we'll look at how we approach comparing the absolute values for fatalities and serious injuries. So on this chart, and a little bit of orientation on how these charts are set up, they're all the same to try and help with the readability because there's a lot going on with these charts. But everything in green is for the San Diego region, and everything in blue is statewide. And then the pinks are targets. So the vertical bars are annual data, and the lines are 5-year rolling averages. And the 5-year rolling averages are what is required for the target setting process. The pink diamonds are prior targets that have been adopted by SANDAG. And then furthest off to the right, you'll see one pink square, and that is the subject of today's topic, which is the target for 2022. Now, as you look at this chart, you'll notice right away that there's a gap for 2020 and 2021. That's one of the complications of target setting for safety, is that there is a significant delay in the availability of safety data. As the data gets pulled together, cleaned, verified, and vetted, we actually have to estimate what has happened between 19 and 2022 to establish the 2022 targets. So this is where Caltrans looks at other trends, usage data that they do have that's preliminary to try and come up with this information. When the 2022 targets were set, over the summer, we had some information that there was an idea that there could be an increase in fatalities because of higher speeds, other implications from COVID, more open roadways, people driving faster. However, that was not final data. It was not available. However, it was considered in the target setting process. But looking at this chart, you can see that from 2013 to about 16, there was an increase in fatalities statewide that essentially reached a cap around 2017 and started decreasing. And we started to see a reduction. When we look at the San Diego region in the green hues, we can see that the San Diego region has been doing well relative to the state, that we are performing lower than the state averages, and that's a good thing for us. That's part of the reason that staff is recommending that we continue to support the statewide targets, because we are not above the state in any of the 5 categories. Next slide, please. When it comes to looking at just fatalities without having a way of normalizing it by DMT as the prior example, we looked at our proportion of the state's population. So the San Diego County has approximately 8.4% of the statewide population. And then if we look at the fatalities compared to the statewide fatalities, those hover more around 7% of the statewide fatalities. So this was another way that we could look at to try and see, is the San Diego region doing well relative to the state in this metric as well. Next slide, please. So this is actually looking at the fatality numbers, the absolute numbers, and you can see again, the state is in blue, San Diego region is in green, and it's not easy to compare the two to see how San Diego region is doing because it's really small on the chart relative to the statewide numbers. And that's why we have that proportional chart, which shows that the San Diego region is doing relatively well compared to the state. And we can see again, the gap for 2020 and 2021, where SANDAG and Caltrans has to work to come up with what those estimates would be prior to setting the target for 2022. So that covers it for the 2 fatality performance measures. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Tim Garrett, to cover the serious injuries and the combined final 5th measure.
Thank you, Sam. Next slide, please. So here we have serious injuries, moving on from fatalities to serious injuries, and visualized here as a rate, once again, by the amount of driving that occurs within our region. So it's a rate per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. So in contrast with fatalities, the state has seen increases in serious injuries since about 2013. It's worth pointing out here and on the next few slides, it's kind of implicit. There's a particularly large jump from 2017 to 2018. And that's based partially on a change in methodology. So previous to that, the only crashes that were included in the data set were verified serious injuries, but it was included to include suspected serious injuries in addition. So that explains the higher number. However, there's been a more modest increase between the 2 most recently available data years, which are 2018 and 2019. So Caltrans, in devising the 2022 target, has projected out this more modest increase, about 1.6% annually. They've projected that out to 2022 to come up with the target that they have adopted. And just as we've seen with fatalities, the rate for serious injuries normalized by VMT in the San Diego region is a lower rate than statewide. So it's another example of how our region is performing better than the state in this respect. Next slide, please. And as Sam mentioned, the other way of visualizing this data to compare the San Diego region with the state is normalizing by population. So once again, the dashed line is the same as it was on the other slide, representing the county's population as a proportion of the state, which is about 8.4%. And the annual and 5-year rolling averages for serious injuries in our region as a share of the statewide serious injuries have been consistently lower than our share of the state's population. And there's even been a decrease in the last couple of years in the proportion of serious injuries occurring here because they've been increasing more quickly at the statewide level. So we're down to about 7.2% of the statewide serious injuries are occurring in our region. Next slide, please. There we are. And then once again, this is the absolute numbers for serious injuries, and it's kind of difficult to see how the region is comparing to the state. But you can see that there's been a pretty significant increase from 2013 up to the present, or the most recently available data. San Diego County had its peak in serious injuries in 2018 based on the data we have so far, but there was a slight decrease from 2018 to 19, which was nice to see. Next slide, please. And then so the final federally required measure is non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So this includes pedestrians, cyclists, and new this year, people on personal conveyance. So that can include scooters, skateboards, wheelchairs, and other forms of personal mobility. So the combined numbers give a holistic view of vulnerable road users. Similar to the data shown previously, statewide non-motorized fatalities decreased 2018 to 19, but the statewide non-motorized serious injuries increased. So combining those two, the fatalities and serious injuries as defined by this measure, and forecasting those out to 2022, you can see that the pink square, the proposed 2022 target and adopted by Caltrans, is an overall increase. Next slide, please. And then one more comparison from the state level to the regional level. We can see that the same 8.4% population line, but it's about 7.5% of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries occurring within the San Diego region. So that's all we have for charts. And now that we've gone through those, I'll give it back to Sam to talk about some discussion and next steps for the process.
Thank you, Tim. So wrapping up in the next two slides here, we have our overview and our impacts. And just to recap, the target setting processes or requirements for departments of transportation, Caltrans, and metropolitan planning organizations like SANDAG by Federal Highway Administration. The assessment of target achievement is actually performed just at the state level. It does not apply to metropolitan planning organizations like SANDAG. In both 2018 and 2019, as you might have seen in some of the prior charts, that California did not make significant progress on target achievements. As a consequence, essentially, Caltrans, the principal funding sources for infrastructure on safety, the Highway Safety Improvement Program, Caltrans has to develop an implementation plan for how to best use those dollars. And there's also, for the Highway Safety Improvement Program, funding flexibility is removed. Essentially, state DOTs have an option to take some federal funds and move them to different federal pots. That is not a practice that Caltrans has been performing in the past, so it's not really an impact to our state either. Targets and progress on targets is included in each iteration of the regional plan. So the plan that was just adopted, the 2021 regional plan, has an appendix on this process, Appendix O, and it reviews the data behind it, how the region is doing, how the state is doing, and where the targets are and what efforts are underway to achieve those targets. In a similar manner, the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, or RTIP, also is designed in such a way to support target achievement and also includes an appendix that documents how that is integrated into that program. Next slide, please. As far as next steps, we'll be going to the SANDAG Board of Directors on January 28th. Once we receive direction on that, if we have a direction to support statewide targets or develop our regional targets, we'll follow up with documentation submittal to Caltrans by the February 28th due date. And then the 2021 regional plan also includes a near-term action of a Vision Zero plan, and the details and scope of that will be worked up over the several months or years or so. And again, I do want to emphasize that this item is on annual target setting, but there's a lot more to safety at SANDAG and across the state. At the programming and planning level, Caltrans has a strategic highway safety plan that guides statewide efforts, along with the Office of Traffic Safety has planning efforts. Caltrans has ongoing work on the Coronado Bridge and suicide prevention efforts, as Councilmember Sankey mentioned this morning. There are local agencies working on developing local roadway safety plans, and that's just a small sampling of efforts ongoing. But this item is just focused on the federal requirement for annual target setting. And as a reminder, this is an action item, and the Transportation Committee is asked to recommend that the Board of Directors approve supporting the 2022 statewide safety targets established by Caltrans. That concludes our report, and we are happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, both of you, for the presentation on this really important subject. We'll now turn over to public comment, and I see two hands raised. We'll begin with Dr. Tim Bilash.
Good morning. Thank you. Nice presentation. I appreciate the data. San Diego has one of the highest concentration of craft beer establishments. I'm a physician up in Del Mar, sorry. Are there any numbers quantifying driver impairment, such as alcohol or opioids, in the fatalities that are reported? And I might expect opioid involvement to have increased over the past 2 years based on hospitalizations.
Does that conclude your comments, Dr. Bailish? Looks like it. All right.
Yes, Jessica.
Thank you very much. We will appreciate your comments and questions. We'll now go to Nicole Burgess.
Good morning, and thank you, Vice Chair Raul Campillo. Nicole Burgess. I sit on the City of San Diego Mobility Board and represent District 5, and appreciate this presentation. Thank you, Sam and Tim. I just a couple comments, traffic deaths, fatalities, serious injuries are really so detrimental to our region and our productivity in the region. Imagine roughly 25,000 folks will be affected this year. A lot of those are actually families that will lose someone, but those ones of serious injuries, we have to be mindful. Those are serious injuries, and those are going to lead to improper meds, over addiction, perhaps even homelessness, debt, unpredictability. So we really need to be looking at these safety targets. And I know they're anticipated of what's really not what we want to achieve, but what's really likely to happen. And I really encourage Sandag to look at their own targets. It's great that we're meeting lower percentages than the statewide. However, we really need to set our own targets, and we need to get to zero. And I appreciate Sandag for adopting Vision Zero and really looking at how we can implement that and become a better city, a safer city, a more productive and vibrant city. I would like to ask staff, perhaps maybe you can get back to me. I'd love to see the breakdown of non-motorized, which ones, how many are actually fatalities to serious injuries. I think those need to be separated. And also I'd like to, many board members in the past on board of directors have asked for PR safety campaigns. And, that is really, how do we change the mode of how we're moving, and how do we respect all people on the road? So a lot of studies have shown that when you do actually create options for people to move by bike and foot, you actually improve safety for people in cars as well, and efficient mobility. So as we continue these conversations, I look for support from the City of San Diego. Unfortunately, I believe your district, Raul Campillo, is still lacking a vacant position in the mobility board for the last year. We need those folks to support these efforts, and we need the city to really ensure that we're actually creating safe corridors for folks. So thank you for this presentation, and I look forward to more work to be done on this effort.
Thank you very much to the members of the public for your comments. We'll now turn to committee member comments. I see that Councilmember Zito is got his camera on.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Campillo. I did want to jump in, and I did appreciate the reference by staff at the end to Vision Zero, but I also wanted to refer back to the comments made by the last speaker as well, that I do think it's kind of contradictory and a little bit interesting to have a target that we're setting here that's going to increase, a target of increasing serious injury for non-motorized vehicles, while also saying that we're trying to back Vision Zero. And I can understand there might be logistical reasons to do that, and maybe someone can talk a little bit more about that nexus, but I would certainly like when this goes to the full board and actions taken there, that there be a little bit more emphasis put around, or some more dialogue put around how Vision Zero is going to work to drive down those numbers, and that we actually are taking additional steps, so it doesn't look like it's a perfunctory thing if we're doing this other action here. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Zito. Councilmember Sankey.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Mr. Zito is absolutely nailing it. I'm hoping that there's a little broader perspective here. I think he used the word perfunctory, and there is a certain necessity of making this finding, as there are many other times that we at this board have to come up with a target or a number that meets a state or a federal mandate. So I will make the motion to approve this to go forward. But I will add, as I have anecdotally watched the number of electric bikes moving around my community, I know that there will be accidents involving the speed at which these bikes go. Statistics on mode share increasing for bicycles in San Francisco, and at the same time, their number of accidents involving bicycles also increased. And so as we do this mode share, as Nicole Burgess pointed out, we're going to have to find safer ways to move people on these new modes and pay attention to the numbers and let that data drive some of our planning and construction decisions to make sure we can move these mode share goals forward, but at the same time not endanger people. I've seen some very irresponsible behavior on people on electric bikes on the Bayshore Bikeway, and people are going to get hurt, and it's going to be problematic going forward. So again, a recognition of mode safety as opposed to vehicle safety. It would be sort of a dialogue that I'd like to see us at our level continue. But again, I do make the motion because I understand, as perfunctory as it may be, we need to make this finding.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have a motion from Councilmember Sankey. Do we have a second? All right. I think I heard, I'm not quite sure who that was that spoke.
I believe that was Mayor Ritter.
Mayor Ritter, thank you very much for your second on that. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, I just want to say I appreciate staff's report on this and the fact that we have a legal obligation to set these targets by February 28th. I'm hearing members of the public loud and clear, and fellow committee members just this last week recommended to the mayor of the city of San Diego more than 20 miles of bike paths and roads that have significant safety issues in my district alone that do need not just bike lanes, but safety measures, traffic calming, all those sorts of things. We've seen far too many injuries and deaths for pedestrians, bicyclists, and frankly, folks in cars as well. I'm actually very proud of my prior work before being elected to the city attorney's office, prosecuting DUIs. And realizing that the Sheriff's Department, the San Diego Police Department, and many of our law enforcement agencies around the county take this very seriously. The number of alcohol-related and drug DUIs has been rising, and I believe the number of deaths for this last year, 2021, met a record, or at the very least was significantly above the prior year. So I believe we all see these issues as connected, both the quality of our streets, the lack of different forms of transportation, modes of transportation, coupled together with speed and all the other environmental and social factors that go into that are the reason we have so many injuries and fatalities. And so I really appreciate Sam and Tim for your work on this and helping us reach these goals, set these targets so that we can have as much of the highway safety improvement program coming to us here. And with that, we have the motion and the second, and clerk, call the roll.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. For the San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, Paul Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you. For the City of San Diego, Vice Chair Campillo.
I vote yes.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Thank you. For East County, Councilmember Mendoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Metropolitan Transit System is absent today. For North County Coastal, Councilmember Zito.
Zito, yes.
Thank you. For North County Inland, Mayor Ritter.
Ritter, yes.
Thank you. For North County Transit District, Councilmember Edson.
Edson, yes.
Thank you. For the Port of San Diego, Commissioner Naranjo.
Commissioner Naranjo, yes.
Thank you. And for South County, Councilmember Sankey.
Sankey, aye.
Thank you very much. And that does pass unanimously with those members present.
Thank you, clerk. Now brings us to the end of our agenda, I believe, and we will have our next Transportation Committee meeting scheduled for Friday, January 21st, 2022 at 9 a.m. I will say that I was hoping to be able to have this meeting in person and finally meet everybody face to face, but it looks like at least in the short term, we're going to be doing it on Zoom until safety allows for us to come together. Please, everyone, stay safe and stay warm. It's been particularly cold in the region recently. And with that, Happy New Year to everyone, and thank you for being here today. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
Take care, everybody. Nice job, Raul.
Thank you. We are adjourned.